Today's episode, we'll be breaking down the Chicago Bulls' big win over the Boston Celtics, in which they win the game by 18 points. We'll break all that down and some more right after this.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls. Locked On Bulls, a member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's Pat, the designer, host, and creator of the Windy City Breeze. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central, in which we're celebrating an overall Chicago win over Boston today.
Dominating Boston tonight,
dominating Boston. But Pat, the Bulls win this game after going down, I think up like 18 points or something in the first quarter. Now they end up down only by 9 going into the second quarter.
Up.
But then they scored 35-15 and going on a 30-9 run in the second quarter, winning the third quarter. They end up losing the fourth quarter as well by 3 points, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the overall play from the Chicago Bulls in this game?
Your team showed you resilience. Your team showed you that your stars don't have to just put them on your back. Your team showed you that defensively they will be able to come out and fight. Your team showed you so many things that could lead to long-term success for this Bulls team. Not to say that I didn't expect the Bulls to get a win, but I don't think any of us expected the Bulls to get a win like this. Me and you both talked about, we thought it would be close going into the fourth quarter, but the defense of the Chicago Bulls made the biggest difference tonight. And, I mean, they showed out. You have to love that. You have to love that. And the Bulls bench really being able to get out there and attack you. I thought they did a really good job tonight, man. And I thought that Billy Donovan coached another really, really good game.
Billy Donovan coached an excellent game this game, but again, the rebounds in this game, 60-45, 35 of those rebounds coming from Nikola Vucevic and Andre Drummond alone. This was a game in which the first quarter, most of that was very frustrating, but to see the way the team battled back, to see the way that the team, once they started finding success on the defensive end, that they continued that level of play. And then one of the things that I was worried about is while the Bulls then went down in the half, or went into the second half up, I was like, okay, the Boston Celtics are going to come out of the second half. They're going to come firing. How do the Bulls respond? How do they maintain? And even though the Celtics got that lead back down to as low as 6, the Bulls never lost the lead. They worked it right back into double digits after a while, and then extended that lead after that. It was so much in what we needed to see this team and how we needed to see them play. And the defensive end is so shocking, especially when you look at the team. The Boston Celtics, coming into this game, was leading the league in shooting as a team at 52% as a team shooting. Yeah. They only shoot 37% overall from the field in this game, while the Bulls shot 48.3%. What did you think about that aspect of the game, Pat?
I think you saw another situation, right, where, and we've talked about this multiple times, this Bulls team has moments where teams have gotten hot against them early on in the season, right? Miami did it. Washington did it. But it's about keeping a hand in the face. It's about keeping your hand up, forcing the other team for the averages to play out. And while the Bulls have gotten down in 3 of the 4 games here early, the averages have played out against some of those teams that got hot against you really early. And it's based on the defense that the Bulls were able to put together. Boston, I mean, they came out, I believe they were 8 for 9 from the 3-point line, leaving the first quarter or something like that. Like, what? Like, how did you, and as you watched it, you were like, bro, that's a good closeout. That's a good closeout. That's a good closeout. That's the things that I need to see from the Chicago Bulls team, right? Defensively, I talked about the Bulls being having good defenders on their team, but not playing great team defense. Tonight, we saw the Chicago Bulls play great team defense. Their rotations were on point. They did a good job closing out on Tatum and Brown. At a certain point, right, the Boston Celtics just started settling for the 3-ball. And then when they realized, right, the 3-ball is not falling, let's not take that. The Bulls were able to just run them off of the line. Yeah. Those are the things that you see from, and I know I'm not saying the Bulls are this. That's what championship level defenses do. You want to know how I know? I watched the Boston Celtics do it last season. They didn't win a championship, but when they got to playoff time, when you were playing the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks and those guys, championship level defenses force you to take tough shots at the 3-point line and force you off of the 3-point line and do a good job playing you in the mid-range. That's what we watched Chicago Bulls do tonight. I'm not saying the Bulls are going to the NBA championship or any of that, but this defense looked better than we've probably seen it look the entire season in this game.
For sure. And one of the things in this game as well that was a difference maker, the Boston Celtics shot 12 free throws in this game overall, whereas the Chicago Bulls shot 29 free throws and went 26 and 29 in those. What did you think about the Bulls' ability to get to the free throw line in this game and led a lot of the way? Surprisingly, Nikola Vucevic getting to the lane, taking advantage of smaller players on him, either scoring or getting to the line in a lot of situations. What did you think about the Bulls' ability to get to the free throw line?
I think that's going to be key for him throughout the season, right? And I think that's the one thing that a lot of people are looking at, especially Boston fans, basically saying, right, like, hey, the refs helped you guys win this game. The refs got you guys this game. The refs finished this game out for you guys because of how much the Bulls shot free throws and Boston didn't. But this was a very chippy game on both ends. And the fouls that they called on Vooch were, and Vooch being a big part of them, right, were fouls where he was like, listen, I'm down here with 3 people. I miss a layup. Somebody's got to be beating the heck out of me, bro. Like, come on, dog. Like, give me something. And finally, Vooch was able to get those. So I think it's something that the Bulls need to focus on, especially, I mean, you know what DeMar is going to bring. You know Zach LaVine's going to be able to get downhill, right? But I think the biggest thing for me is seeing Vooch not only go down and be aggressive, but being aggressive to the point where he's like, listen, I got to get the job done, whether you guys call the foul or not. It's either going to be a tip out, a pass out. But Vooch was down there, outworking the entire Boston Celtics team. And I think that it was the one thing that you could look at from the Celtics team and say, this is the clear advantage that the Bulls have. And the Bulls took advantage of that, where the size is, I mean, they went from Al Horford to Noah Vonleh.
Yeah.
That's the one spot where I was like, okay, how are the Bulls going to take advantage of this? I thought that the Celtics could take advantage of guard play against the Bulls, and they didn't, right? Like you guys heard me yesterday. They didn't. The Bulls did a good job defending the guard play of the Boston Celtics, and they dominated the big man of the Boston Celtics.
And that was impressive to see. Like, this was a win in which, especially the questions in the Bulls losing in the last 2 games and the blowout at home, we needed to see them respond very well. And even though the score ended up only being over 18 points, they really won this game by considerably more. And then when you factor in also that they had to come back from 15 or 16 down to establish that lead, this team just – the resiliency of this team and the ability to go deep on this team as well. And we'll talk about the bench in another segment, or some key players from that bench, but – it was just great to see the energy, the getting out in transition. It's like once the Bulls found some success, they took that and then were like, hey, this is what we're going to build off of.
Yeah.
And there was a point in time where the Bulls were getting turnovers, blocks, or whatever, every possession and getting out in transition. And it was beautiful basketball to watch, brother.
Yeah, they did a good – I mean – and I think this is the one thing, right, and we'll talk about kind of some of the specific players as we continue going forward, but the Bulls did an excellent job tonight turning defense into offense. And I think that has to be the identity of the Chicago Bulls team this season. You've got you got a lot of good defenders on this team. Doesn't mean that you have a lot of good team defense, but you got a lot of good defenders on this team. Now, how do we turn that into team defense? They turned it into team defense tonight, and that team defense there in turn put the Boston Celtics on their back foot and was able to turn that into offense. That's what we need to see consistently this season. I think that needs to be the identity of the Chicago Bulls, because if we're being 100% honest, right, like the shooters on this team are basically your starters. DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Vooch, maybe Ayo sometimes, right? Like Ayo was able to show out the night, and so you love it. Hopefully he's able to continue to take that step. We just don't know yet. But outside of that, right, like not a lot of you don't got a lot of lasers on your team, as LeBron would say, right? Like you don't have those lasers that are just going to come out and knock down every shot that they look at, right? Like, so I think that that's the part, right, where the Bulls can kind of get out and be able to attack a lot of these better teams in the Eastern Conference is defensively. I know Alex Caruso, Ayo Dosunmu, who has looked like a star defensively through these first 4 games. Ayo Dosunmu, if we want to throw Patrick Williams in there, Patrick Williams played pretty good defense tonight. Didn't get a ton of time, but played pretty good defense. I mean, Drummond, like, you're seeing defenders on this team. Now, how do you take that from one side and turn it into offense on the other side? And the Bulls did an excellent job from that. And I think, right, like, you also have to focus in on the point that tonight, first game where you had your full slate of weapons with rest.
That's a great point there. I didn't think about that. That is actually a great point. Yeah. Next up, we're going to talk about some of the players in the starting lineup that really stood out to us in this game. But first, I got to talk to you guys about LinkedIn. And so these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and free. You add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread your word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on the candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can prioritize who'd you like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedon. That's linkedin.com/lockedon to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Pat. We had a big game from a couple of players today. And I want to key in on talking about the starters there. We'll talk about the bench coming up next.
Why did you put that up?
Whoa. I didn't even. Did I put that up? That was complete happenstance. Wow.
He is missing, but dang, dog. Why you
That's crazy.
Marco, bro?
Hey, listen, that was completely unintentional, bro.
He didn't do nothing tonight.
That was my ancestors attacking Marko Simonovic there. That wasn't even me. But I want to talk about a couple of key players in this game. DeMar DeRozan goes 25 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal. He was very active in this game. Yep. Nikola Vucevic, 23 rebounds, 5 assists, only 2 turnovers and 18 points on his birthday, no less. And then Ayo Dosunmu coming in with 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 22 points. Yeah. Out of that, Zach LaVine also had 19 points. He shot the ball 5 for 15. Not an efficient night for him. But out of the starting lineup, who was your player of the game?
Ayo. And it's not even tough to say, right? Because the thing that's going to set I talked about this before the season started, beginning of the season, even coming into this game. If you guys checked out the last episode, the thing that's going to set the Chicago Bulls apart this season is not your stars. Guess what? Zach LaVine's going to put up 25 plus a game. DeMar DeRozan's going to put up 25 plus a game. Nikola Vucevic is going to give you a double-double. The things that we know that we can rely on. The thing that sets you apart is the things that are unknown. Tonight, Ayo was the unknown that set you apart from what the Boston Celtics were able to do. Right. He gave you not only excellent offensive play from the point guard position, but to the point where he was putting the defense on the back foot because he was just like, no, I'm not going to waste my time and let Zach set up or whatever it is. Right? I'm a jab step. You're going to bite. And I'm going to take off. I'm going to get to the rim, and I'm going to finish the bucket. He was playing like he was from the town tonight. Shout out to Ayo. And, I mean, like that, I think that's the thing that separates you outside of, right, like the bench play, you know what that's going to be. But that's the thing that separates your team tonight from the Chicago Bulls from last night or the Chicago Bulls from that Washington game. Ayo Dosunmu gave you top-tier production tonight, and he looked like not like a second-round pick, like one of the best point guards in the NBA tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Ayo just in the way that the fluidity too, right? Like it just every shot that Ayo took, it was the right shot. And then when Ayo put the ball on the floor and went to the rim a couple of times, like Ayo just is it's like the game is already slowing down to him. And a lot of players, that doesn't happen to about your 3rd or 4th year. If that happens, and like me and you have always talked about, getting scoring Ayo is just going to be the icing on top of the cake for what Ayo already does on the defensive end. We're starting to see that scoring game that he flashed in Illinois, that he had in Illinois, really come to fruition for him. And the one thing that I would like to see is like some of the playmaking improved for Io, but I don't want to harp on anything negative because tonight Io was all over the floor and he did it on both ends of the ball for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's the part that you look at, right? Like, I think the biggest difference in the Chicago Bulls game is just what he was able to bring, how consistently he was able to bring it, and how efficiently he was able to bring it. And I think, right, like you look at other guys on the Boston side, right, and that's the part that sets you apart. Boston, of course, right, like their stars are going to be stars. But Marcus Smart took 6 shots tonight. Yeah, he had 11 points, 4 for 6, but he took 6 shots. That's telling you that Io is turning guys away. Derek White, he had 5 points, 2 for 8. Grant Williams got ejected and basically didn't do. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's those guys that are the intangibles.
Jaylen Brown, 8 for 23.
Not the intangibles. Those guys that are the what's the right word? Right, like the glue. Those guys that are the glue around what the stars are. Those are the guys that you look for, and you say, hey, if they take a step right, you might be in a tough situation. That didn't happen tonight. And that's exactly what you want to see from this Bulls team, because it's not like it didn't happen just because those guys were missing. It didn't happen because your team played well against those guys. That's the thing for me, especially with Ayo Dosunmu, that really stands out to me. And I mean, we could talk about the same thing with guys off of the Bulls bench, right? Like, to me, right, the one oversight you can't have is Andre Drummond giving you 15 minutes, only 2 points, 1 for 2, 12 rebounds, solid defense. Derek Jones Jr. coming off the bench, giving you 10, right? Like, you start to look down this Bulls bench and you're like, hey, wait a minute. We not only got production, but we were able to stagger our players against a top team in the NBA. And that's not something we were able to do last season. You weren't able to stagger your players because you needed DeMar, you needed Zach, you needed Vooch to be on the floor.
You mentioned Drummond, and I think the key thing is that having 35 rebounds from your center position and most of those being defensive rebounds, it puts pressure on the other team because the other team is like, hey, listen, if we don't get this shot, we're not getting the rebound. Yeah. Just period. We're not getting the rebound.
And it got to a point like that tonight. Like, it really did.
Yeah, yeah. And so it really changes the team. And Nikola Vucevic in this game, too, while he was 0 for 3 from three-point range, he was 7 from 19 overall from the field, but 4 for 5 from free throw. Yeah. This is a guy who only averaged 1.7 free throws all per game last season. That's all he averaged, was less than 2 free throws per game last season. This so far this season he's averaging 5 free throws a game. And that's indicative of Vooch changing the way that he plays, is operating more down low, is him taking more advantage when he has the younger player, a smaller player on him. Vooch is playing very deliberate, I think is the right word to use it. He's very focused in the way that he goes about his offense. I already talked about on Central the fact that his PER is 22.59. That is up considerably last season from his PR being 18.27, and he's doing that on less shots this season overall. Vooch is balling, bro, and I think it's going overlooked. Vooch is balling.
Well, I don't even know if it's going overlooked, right? Like, Vooch is balling, but it's to a point, right, where it feels dominant this season. Vooch was up and down last season, but up and down was still a double-double. This season, Vooch feels like he's got an answer. And I'll be honest with you, right? Like, the one thing that I saw in that Bulls run that really kind of started before the bench came in, Vooch got the ball top of the key, grabbed the ball, one dribble, got to the bucket, lay over Marcus Smart. And I said, Vooch knows he's still got it in him. Yeah. Vooch knows if he needs to, he can still be a number one. And it feels like, right, like Billy Donovan also knows, like, hey, if we need Vooch to step up, he can step up. If we need Vooch to make this shot, he can make this shot. By the way, Vooch with a nasty turnaround, fadeaway J in the face of Al Horford. We need to acknowledge that, by the way.
Vooch had a lot of plays this game where it was just like, it was the right play. Like, he had the double pump up and under as well, that it was just like, hey, man, listen, Vooch is out here cooking. He had he took it 2 dribbles into, or I think it was 1 dribble into the lane and got a foul call. He didn't get the bucket, but like Vooch is renewed in this. Like, he's doing what needs to be done. Before we get off this segment though, bro, what do you think about the coaching job from Billy Donovan?
I mean, I think Billy Donovan is doing a heck of a job this season. I thought he did a heck of a job tonight, right? Like, again, the Bulls got down big, bro. I'm telling you, I'm watching in the first quarter. I'm live calling the game. We did a double live call tonight, which was ridiculous. But we're live calling the game over on the Breeze, right? And legitimately, I'm like, that's a hand in the face. That's a hand in the face. It's a hand in the face. Billy Donovan's not getting outside of himself. He's not saying, hey, this is a mistake. Hey, we're missing this. Hey, we're losing this. Hey, we're down big right now. But I'll tell you what, when you got DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, you know that you can get some points quick. And we saw Zach kind of come in, right? Like he had that Zach TV moment where he just came and was like, I'm finna cook y'all real quick. And then I'm gonna go back and just do what I got to do. But I think that the thing that Billy Donovan is doing so well, and I think that he could have done it last year, and he tried to do it last year, but you have to have talent on the team. Billy Donovan, how he staggers that lineup. I talked about this kind of already, but he staggered that lineup to the point where your team, based on the schedule that it's playing this season, will be able to find some extra minutes of rest that you might not have had if you had to play the same way next season, right? Of course, 4 games into the season, no injuries. It's perfect. You like that, right? But at the end of the day, right now, I'm watching Billy Donovan coach for the situation that his team is in right now. Not for the long, not for what they were doing last year, not for the specifics of a player, not to hype one player up versus another. He's coaching this team for what your team is right now, and I think that is so important to pay attention to when you're watching him coach these games.
Billy Donovan's coaching job in this part of the season so far has been up and down. It's like the Cleveland game, it seemed like he defaulted back to last year's coaching, but not only who he brought in, when they brought him in, the combination, and letting them ride it out. Like there was a period of time where it was Caruso, DJJ, Zach, I think, and I can't remember if it was like, but he let them literally ride it out until it was like, all right, we're going to go and bring in somebody.
Drummond was in there too. Yeah.
It was a really good look. Like Billy Donovan is coaching very well. But next up, we're going to talk about some of the bench players off that specifically. But I want to thank you guys for making Locked On your first listen. Now for your second listen, go and check out Game to Game. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the NBA with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. Now, Pat, let's go ahead and play the music, man. Let's not miss out.
Play the music.
Let's go ahead and
play the music. We got dubs out here.
We got dubs. There are, like, we talked about some of the key players in the starting lineup for the Bulls, but some of the key players on the bench for the Bulls, I think, that need to be acknowledged as well. Derrick Jones Jr., who I did not expect to get very many minutes for the Chicago Bulls team at all, played 15 minutes in this, had an impactful 10 points in those. He got to the free throw line 6 times in that as well, like just playing with nothing but energy, athleticism, and activity. Like doing those things. Goran Dragic as well, having a plus minus of plus 21 in only 17 minutes. Alex Caruso, plus 29. Andre Drummond, you already talked about it, 12 rebounds off the bench, plus 26. What do you think about the bench impact in this game?
I mean, I think it's so key to see those guys step up and right, like you're at the beginning of a season where, let's be real, and just being 100%, not to harp on Patrick Williams, because again, another short minutes game for him, but where you have a coach that's dealing with a drastic change because of how a player's mentality is right now. You're probably, Billy Donovan's probably not expecting to come into this season saying we can't play Patrick Williams 30 minutes a night. Mm-hmm. And that's what it seems like it's been in the beginning. And you've had to go to Derrick Jones Jr., you've had to go to Javonte, you've had to go to those guys more. And they've looked like, hey, this may be the only chance I'm going to get to show I need to be on the floor, and they have taken advantage of it. Derrick Jones Jr. coming in, giving you, I mean, he was going to the bucket immediately. He knows his game, right? He knows, hey, listen, I got this little bit of a corner three, but I need to be down there. And he's forcing them to call fouls. A lot of tough shots at the bucket, a lot of tough shots at the rim, trying to dunk on a couple people. Yeah, I mean, this is what DJJ does. But
watch your necks, people.
Watch your neck. Don't get caught out here. But I think that right like that, seeing him come out with the aggressiveness of, hey, this might be the only chance I get to be on this court. I need to prove that I need to be on the court consistently on both ends of the floor. Same to be said about Javonte. Same to be said about, right, like when you look at this Bulls bench, you see guys that are hungry to get in the game and stay a part of this rotation. And I think that that's showing out early in the season.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to DJJ for coming in and just being ready. Because it was needed, right? And do you think that this now, looking at Patrick Williams, and I said this to you before we start recording, is Patrick Williams going to be the power for Keith Bogans, where he starts the game, but he really gets like 15 to 18 minutes, and then Javonte and Derrick Jones Jr. gets to work outside of that.
It seems like it. I mean, honestly, right? Like, and it sucks to say, but like, he's not showing you anything that you can't get out of those other guys outside of he's 6'7", 235. That's it. And defensively, right? He's still a good defender. He did a good job defensively. On Tatum, he did a good job defensively on Brown when he got out there. He's making plays defensively, but he's not showing me anything that I can't get outside of defense from these other guys. And these other guys are going to be aggressive offensively. So I think that that's definitely something that you got to look at. And I like that it's the power forward Keith Bogans, because like it's exactly what he was.
That's
exactly
what it was.
Keith was like, "Hey, you got 10 minutes, brother. Get out there, do something, and then get out."
It is what it is, man. And, Patrick Williams didn't play horrible in this game, contrary to what some people believe. He was a little bit more aggressive. The first play of the game, I think the first set play was run for Patrick Williams. And so I think they're trying to get him more activity and chance in there. But at this point, it kind of is what it is. But Derrick Jones Jr. provided everything we needed in this time. I thought we were going to see more in the second half. We really didn't. All his 10 points came in the first half. But listen, all 10 of the points of that was key to changing the tide of this game. So
I think the thing with P. Will right now is, right, like, we're going to scheme these plays for you. We're going to try. Here's the thing. I've said it about every player, right? Billy's given Kobe rope. Billy has given Lowry rope. Billy gave Wendell some rope. Wendell was gone before Billy, right?
No,
first season Wendell was there.
Yeah,
Billy gave Wendell some rope, right? No, because Wendell was good until the rim blocked him for a dunk. Yeah. I'll never forget that play, bro. I just remember they immediately went to AK, and AK was like, traded.
Thank you for your services.
You know what I mean? But no, man, I mean, he's gonna give Patrick Williams opportunity. He's going to give Patrick Williams a chance. But what he's not going to do is put his team in a position where they're going to end up losing the game to appease the fourth pick in the draft. And in all honesty, right, as crazy it is to say, the fourth pick in the draft is okay with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the part that's most concerning to Bulls fans. But Patrick Williams isn't going to say, like, hey, I'm don't do what's best for the team here. Just let me play my game.
Yeah.
He's going to be fine with it. And so, like, I think in that situation, you do what's best for the team. If he doesn't have that belief in him yet, or he doesn't feel like he's taking that leap yet, you have to go with that decision.
I mean, that's pretty cut and dry right there, brother.
Yeah. It sucks, but
it does suck. Now,
it sucks.
going here now, we have a game coming up Wednesday against the Indiana Pacers. This is a later game. I think this game starts at 9 my time. What in this game can the Bulls build upon for that game? For me, it's the defensive intensity. If you keep this defensive intensity, you have the chance to be in any game, in my opinion. What's yours?
I'm going to tell you right now, you better. Because remember when Ben Mathurin said, I don't think it's nobody better than me. LeBron got to prove it to me. Hey, Ben Mathurin cooking. I mean, listen, this Pacers team, I don't think this Pacers team is like, oh, my God, we're not going to be able to get a win. But Ben Mathurin is cooking this season to start this off. He's making his case for Rookie of the Year early, even if Paolo's down in Miami or in Orlando, right? So you can't overlook it. You have to have the defensive intensity coming out. I think this is a game to me where if ever P. Will is going to step up, this is the game where you need him to step up the most. But I guess we've said that about every game this season, right? Like, yeah. So I don't think you have anybody that's quick enough, that's fleet of foot enough right now that can guard Ben Mathurin, and that could get ugly quick. I'm not saying the Bulls would lose to the Pacers, but that Pacers team don't look nearly as bad as everybody thought coming into the NBA they was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, especially the backcourt of Ben Mathurin and Tyrese Halliburton that's going to be something to watch, bro. I can't wait for this game. It's going to be another good game for the Chicago Bulls, hopefully. But that's it for me. Pat, you got anything left?
I have nothing left to give tonight, brother. Nothing.
That's fair. Man, it's been an emotional night, bro. Between the Bears and the Bulls playing, it's been an emotional night. Like, and it's funny, they took the lead at the same time.
The same time. Bears did give it back, but the Bulls did not. Did not, which got me nervous. It got down to 3. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
It was the Marcus Smart pump fake to go in the half for the pull up 3 off of the glass that I was like, yeah, I can see this. I can see this tide changing real quick, but no, I'm good, man. Follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. You can follow us both on everything at Locked On Bulls. Appreciate y'all for showing love, man.
Absolutely. You can follow me at CEO Haize, CEO Haize. And thank you for making Locked On Bulls your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, go and check on for your next listen. Go and check on Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. For Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. This is Locked On Bulls. We'll see you lovely and beautiful people tomorrow. We out, y'all. Peace.
Yeah.